give them some emotional contrast. That's why it's so valuable to have a comedic character in so many of these films. You know, ones that are just nothing but dour, and they get beaten down the entire time, and then something funny happens. And that comes almost like refreshes the palate. You know, now think about horror films where you have these moments where there are. Like for your character, what you're developing, what kind of story would you want to tell for that character?
I don't know.
It might be something as simple as getting coffee. You could tell a story. It is something as simple as getting a cup of Joe at Starbucks. There can be lots of element of plot. You know, there could be any number of things that any number of stories you can tell, and you can convey all kinds of themes. You know, like for instance,
I was just talking
sure.
to people.
But so the point I'm making, of course, is to have a purpose to your story. You want to have a theme, and the plot, that's one thing, the characters are another. But the theme of your story is also of paramount importance. What's the story in the natural order? You had a character like Maui, who's, if you think about it, Maui is man. And man's desire to conquer nature. And what does he do in the pursuit of that?
Destroy it.
Creates his own doom, right? Because that island was just starting to, wasn't Nefidi basically reaching outwards, and the place was growing progressively darker. Her land, Moana's island, was a big threat, right?
Yep.
Eventually, her people wouldn't even go in the ocean anymore.
They would have died. They probably would have died if Moana had done it, had just ignored it. If Moana had ignored it, they would be dead.
Yeah, if you think about from Maui, it was one of the themes is redemption. Because he is a character arc. He's a hero, but he's not really the hero, is he?
But every death comes on a
I love that type of character
redemption.
that was like a jerk at first,
Oh,
and then
there's actually a reference to the voice actor, The Rock. The Rock plays Maui.
Sure.
And there's a reference to it where there was gonna be like a really weird. Well, it is a reference already. But so, how Hey ate The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
The Rock. And Maui said, "I'm gonna eat you."
A little too fourth wall.
Yeah.
A little too on
It's
I
just
mean,
like,
I didn't notice.
A little meta.
the only reason I noticed that is because of a video that I watched of Moana Easter eggs.
You know, the story that I want to tell, one of the themes of my story, it's on almost a planetary scale, is one of forgiveness, even begrudging, understanding, even in the face of horrible crime, of course, in the face of a horrible
crime.
Horrible. So think about, if you're going to tell a story, go for broke. You know, first decide what your theme of your story is. Like your animations have a theme.
Usually, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, for example, we may have a message. Theme and message are not always the same thing, although I guess they can be very similar. Like you sometimes you have like a don't drive sleepy.
Yeah.
You know, there's a really dark
I like dark
tone,
humor.
right?
Most of mine are very dark. One way or another. Right now,
Wait,
I'm
what's your channel name?
Little
on
Fang.
YouTube?
Little Fang at 1987. No spaces in all.
Go check out Little Fang 1987's channel. No spaces in between any.
So basically, for these 4 days, we are McHugh Studios. The idea here is that you're going to develop your own ideas, and you're going to come up with a scene that conveys a story, an element of your story, the story that you would like to tell, the character that needs to be present, perhaps the creature that needs to be present, and then think of the themes that you want. If you think this story could convey.
My story that I'm doing right now it's only lasts 4 seconds, so I can tell a very short story in 4 seconds. So I pretty much have one character clearly not good, and then another character pretty nervous. The not very good character attacks the nervous character. The bad character gets its eyes ripped out.
That looks pretty cool.
And then just kind of stumbles away bleeding.
That's kind of dark.
Oh yeah.
That's very dark. Oh God.
Even in my little sketches, is there are things that, while not necessarily conveying story or a theme per se, one thing I try to keep ever present is at least character, is personality. Now look at the sly look in the eye of the dragon. I want to show intelligence in that creature. I'm trying to convey personality. Now it's possible for something to have no personality, be a blank slate. Like a zombie has no personality. It's just a blank slate, and we can, it has a function. It has an instinctual thing that it must do, but it doesn't have a personality.
Yeah. So very idiotic characters, like you just like, no, don't
No,
do
like
that.
the character that like has no emotion, they're very monotone.
Oh yeah.
I mean, in this case, you look at this character's face, this creature's face. There's an expression present. It's not, the creature isn't stone-faced. It looks as though it's almost like ready to speak. Lips have parted.
We
The eyes
must
are half open, as though concentrating on something. There's an interior world there, and that's what I want you. When you're telling the story, your characters have an interior life. It's too easy to do a pinup of a character just stone-faced, straight-limbed, no opinion. And I've done plenty of things like that. I've had to really
This is
have that quality.
the table right now. It's very cluttered with stuff. This table is very cluttered. There's a lot of stuff.
If you look at her face, there's some sorrow there. There is something. There's a feral nature to her, but at the same time, if you look in her eyes, there's something still quite human there. And it's there. I want to have, when I draw characters, and I want them to have some element of personality to them.
Oh, just remember he draws all this.
The expression of a moment.
Oh yeah, and this is part 2 of the first video.
He has a certain dignified expression, but then you look at the crown he's wearing.
Oh, that's a crown?
Yeah.
It looks
Oh.
like part of his head.
It
does kind of
does.
blur the line, doesn't it?
It just
I
looks.
think of him almost like a fairy king. Well, he's a human who's been dubbed the king of the fairies.
It just.
He's not quite sure how to feel about that.
He just looks like he's has like a bunch of trees,
Oh, yeah.
roots growing out of his head.
Yeah. But you look at his face, it's kind of like, there's a certain regalness, but at the same time, it's kind of like a.
Yeah.
Nice little, I'm not sure how I feel about this. That's what I want you guys to think about. It's so cool to have the guy with the shield and sword,
Yeah.
but if there's no personality and no drive behind that shield and sword, then it's really just props and a wooden mannequin. Don't I look cool? You do want to tell something. Yeah.
I want a piece of that.
Oh, you want a
Piece of what?
Come on, here.
You wouldn't let me know.
It's right there.
Thank you.
It's sitting right there. I didn't want to take it while you were put it over your drawing. You're thumbnailing. Okay.
Oh God, this is a hilarious class.
And I'm like, when is it gonna let me?
This is if you've seen The Lord of the Rings, then you'll recognize
Yep.
these are Barrow-wights.
Yep.
And this is one of the elves of, I think, let's see, probably Rivendell. This is a Rivendell elf. But right now, this Rivendell elf is facing off against a Barrow-wight on the Barrow Downs. Now,
There's a guy looking in the background.
yep. I keep him purposefully. His contrast is reduced. I want him to be seed. So I want him to be in the background. Even the doorway to this barrow mound, I want that to be pushed back. I don't want it to pop. Now look at the differences between these characters. He's of an earlier age of Middle Earth.
Yeah.
And look at the materials his weapons and armor are made from.
Definitely different.
Yeah, bronze, copper, versus the elf who is carrying steel.
Steel's gonna win.
Yeah. Well, these are the things that I want to make clear, the differences between, obviously this is a ghostly character, a ghostly creature, but I want the other difference to be
Steel.
pretty stark and clear.
Triumph, silver, copper.
So that requires, I have to think about, it all comes down to, where's the character from, what does the character do? These two characters are of differing levels of technology. The kinds of metals that they can employ in their materials. what kind of clothing they're wearing, what their roles were. He's wearing basically, it looks something like a crown.
Yeah.
These are, every little bit can be used to convey a story and do something about the characters in it.
This is actually something I chose to do because I thought it would be really cool. You know how to stand with me.
It's called, I'm not even sure this is from the actual books or anything. I worked for a company called Cubicle 7 that worked on the One Ring. And this is a character known as Faradron. But you'll notice the palette is very cool, very dark values. And then you see a little warm note.
So
That's in the collar that keeps her imprisoned.
So you drew this? You drew this?
Yeah, this is all my stuff.
I
You
also
do
see
really
something
good.
down there
Ow.
in that area.
Yeah, this is all acrylic painting, by the way. Acrylics are a different medium in that you're using an acrylic polymer. It's a carrying the pigment. And the thing that you have to think about with acrylics is that it dries very rapidly. It dries quickly. You have to worry, if you want to have a blended look to your work, you really have to blend it quickly.
He is very.
Kind of rocky.
Yeah.
It
This is a mountain troll.
kind of looked like scales for some reason.
This is a particular mountain troll from the Lord of the Rings.
Yes, Lord of the Rings.
Game that I worked on. But yes, you're trying to convey character and texture and detail, all those things go into telling the story. I often come across the subject is it starts with a sphere, and that sphere incorporates basically the top of the skull, and you can square that off in the end eventually. But once you have that sphere and you've got your little T, and you've got this is your eye line, of course. You can establish your jaw line depending on what you're dealing with. This is how I often do it. I start with a circle right dead center of the skull. And that's how I measure out placement of the two eyes. And you'll find that your head is also another eye width to the edge of your head. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at about 5 eyes across, or in terms of width, typically. Now the nose, halfway between eye line and jaw. That's the bottom of the nose, and of course it can be, on average, it's average about 1 eye in width. So there's your nose. Mouth, halfway between bottom of nose and chin. And generally speaking, it's about half from pupil to pupil. That's the general width of the eye of the mouth. And of course you have your eyelids and everything. Eyebrows and the orbital. As long as you think of the eye in terms of a sphere that's being protected by the orbital bones, and they're recessed. If you look, a lot of people have a tendency to want to put those eyes real close, but it's actually quite well set back from the nose, from the bridge of the nose. And some people, it's very pronounced. You know the actor Liam Neeson?
Yeah.
Very pronounced, very deep set eyes from a heavy brow and a strong nose. I almost describe it as Hellenic. Hellenic is it's a Greek idea, but those eyes can be quite set, look at this, quite far back and well protected. Now the ears, typically just above, like up to say the eye level, the eyebrow line to bottom of the nose is typical in terms of height.
Yours are so weird looking.
They are, and and ears are all individual. Your ears are as individual as fingerprints. They're different in everybody.
Didn't know that.
And the reason they're shaped the way they are, if you understand the structures, why they're shaped that way.
Alright guys, gotta end this video here. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all have a great day. I'll see you all in the next video. Later. Bye.